It has been a very interesting week, very interesting. But one of the things that I've learned this week, with all the demonstrations that have happened in this country, is one saying by the Gen Zs that when the fear is gone, they lose their power over you. Majority of us parents have gone through situations where we are full of fear. We live in fear. Yes, we do. I know some of you may not want to accept it, but it is true. Majority of parents in this country, they live in fear. And why do they live in fear? It's because of the way we were brought up. We were taught to think about tomorrow. What matters is not yesterday. It is not today. What matters is tomorrow. But the young ones, what matters to them is today. And that is where the disconnect is. We are too much about tomorrow. The Gen Zs are too much about today. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We come from different generations. Everybody has to understand the other. But today, I want to explain to the Gen Zs why their parents live in fear. Every time when you look at your parents live in fear. They may not acknowledge that. Of course, parents are not supposed to acknowledge their weakness. Parents are supposed to be strong. We have to put that face. We are strong. Because if we are weak, our children will also be weak. So, why do parents live in fear? Parents live in fear because of the way we were brought up. I remember some times back, I brought up this discussion in another group, and one of the ladies said that she came from a very good family. She has no problem with the way she was brought up. Being brought up is not about the kind of family that you are brought up in. Being brought up is about the things that you learned. What did you learn? And how has it affected your life? Because as children growing up, there are things that we learned. And even today, as a child growing up, there are things that you learn. And those things are reflected in your life later. I'm going to talk about 5 places where we learned. And some of the things that we learned are the ones that have made us live in fear. Number 1 is the families. If you are brought up in a family where when your mother asked you to do something, when she came back, you had not done it, and you are punished. And mothers had this very sneaky way of punishing kids. You will either not eat, you are going to be beaten, or any other kind of punishment. Most likely, you live in fear. Because what you learned is you make a mistake, you are going to be punished, and that punishment, you are going to feel pain. And who does not fear pain? So the way your parents treated you, or even your siblings, if you made a mistake, you are beaten, you felt the pain, you developed fear. That is number 1. Number 2, primary and secondary school. Your primary school, your secondary school. In most schools, teachers asked questions, and I think that happens even today. You ask a question, a child does not have the correct answer, that child is going to be embarrassed in front of the class, and most likely that child is going to be punished. Do you remember that? Yes, we were punished. We were beaten. We were taught to clean classrooms. We were taught to go to the river and bring water. We were taught to go home, get farming instruments and farm. And sometimes even parents were summoned. You can imagine the embarrassment. You can imagine the pain of the punishment. What did we learn? We learned that when you are asked a question, you make a mistake, you are going to be punished, and it is painful. Again, who does not fear pain? Let us come to university, for those who attended university. At the university level, the lecturers are not going to beat you. No. You are going to be embarrassed in front of other students. And you can imagine, such times, you think you are the hottest girl or you are the most handsome young man, but you are going to be embarrassed in front of the other students. Have you ever asked yourself why many classmates did not get married? That is the reason. Number two, if you make a mistake or you even question your lecturer, you're going to be a marked person, and most likely you will fail. That happened even during our time. You question the theories that the lecturer is teaching. You question some of the things that the lecturer is telling you. You become a marked student. Most likely when the lecturer will be marking the scripts, you're going to fail. And when we got to the university, we became politically aware about some of the things that were happening. And of course, we started criticizing the late President Moi. And I can assure you, some of my former classmates did not complete university. They became marked students. They were either sent out of university. Some of them were even jailed. When we saw that, what did we learn? You question what the government is doing, whether it is the local government or the national government. You become a marked person. You are not going to finish your course. We decided to keep quiet. We live in fear, even today. We went to class with some classmates. They were not students. They were not. They wanted to hear what we were talking about. And they would report that to the government. And many students suffered. We learned to keep quiet. We became fearful of the system. That is the political system. From that, number 4 is work. You get a job in the government or even in a corporate organization. There are structures, there are systems, there is the culture. You are supposed to be seen. You walk into the office at 8 o'clock, go for lunch at 1 o'clock, come back at 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock you go home. You are told what to do, and you cannot question your boss. It does not matter whether you are coming from the university with a first-class honors. Well, your boss is a Form 4 dropout. They are the bosses. You know nothing. I remember when I was employed and I had a disagreement with my boss. It was a very simple thing, a very silly thing when I look at it today. It was in the technical department, and some of our clients or customers had various queries. They would write to us whatever was bothering them, and we would reply and give them guidance on what they were supposed to be doing. Then we would go and post those letters in the post office. And I asked my boss, instead of doing all this, why don't we buy a fax machine? And then immediately we write down whatever they are supposed to do, then we can fax the letters. My boss said, no, you must write the letters, put them in an envelope, and go and post those letters in the post office. To me, that was a waste of time. Imagine, today when I look back, I thank the creator of emails. So again, we learned to be fearful. Because if you do not do what your boss requires of you to do, you are going to lose your job, and in the next promotions, your name will not feature anywhere. And besides, when they go for meetings, you are going to be the point of discussion. Again, we learned to chat up, full of fear. Not because we do not know many things that can change organizations, but the fear was there. And this means that majority of us joined organizations, we just sailed through. We just sailed through until retirement. Number 5, religion. Majority of us were brought up in Christian families. And there is one thing we are told, that you don't question things. Because if you question things, you are not going to heaven. You will go to hell. And we developed fear of going to hell. So we have fear of going to hell. We all want to go to heaven, don't we? Of course, there are very many other places where we have learned to be fearful and we are full of fear. We have become captives of fear. And today, when we see the Gen Zs or the Gen Zs, they don't have that kind of fear. They don't. Majority of us parents wished that our children would not live the kind of lives that we lived. We wanted you not to have fear, because that fear is the one that has made many of us not attain or not get to the levels that we would have wanted to get to. There is always that voice. Don't do this, don't do that. And when we hear that voice, we know if we do it, we are going to fail, and when we fail, we are going to feel pain. And we do not want to feel pain. If your parents have not been taking risk, that is the reason. Maybe you look at your parent and you ask yourself, why hasn't my mother done ABCD? Why hasn't my father done ABCD? When you look at your parents, they are capable of moving the world, and yet they do not do it. You ask yourself very many questions. It's because your parents have fear. They live in fear. But Gen Zs, we are proud of you. What we would have wanted to do, you have done it for us. You have done it for us. We are very proud of you. We are. And this is as far as fear is concerned. Majority of us have learned great things and great lessons in that 1 week. And we are asking ourselves, so it is true that when the fear is gone, they no longer have control over you. But who is there? Whomever it is. Stay well.